All right, so it's 2 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the next session. I'm Joe Jergenson from Robintek. We're a web development firm based in Columbus, Ohio. We're 20 years old this year. We're a family company. My dad, brother, and I founded it. And about 3 years ago, we moved up and opened our first satellite office in the Akron area, and that's why we're trying to grow into this area. Just a quick background on us. Like I said, 20 years and focusing on web development, but we've grown into a lot of other areas. We have around 700 active clients with well over 2,000 websites built. A lot of services for some names that you would know, but then mostly small and medium companies. We love serving entrepreneurs and startups. Branding, web development, print design. We have a full service photography department, outreach marketing, PPC, SEO. So like I said, we've branched out into a lot of the other areas. My talk today, the underlying premise or the idea is deepening your relationship with clients, learning more about your client, not just their project. Sorry, I'm a little nervous today. Sorry, but deepening your relationship with your client. The more that you can learn about your client, the better that you can serve them. And I think this is something that's often overlooked with web developers, especially as a lot of us are just designers. We like to do a new candy shell for a website, and they leave out the SEO or the content strategy or reviewing their branding or what their underlying message is. So some really easy ways that I like to dive into that is to get to know the owner, get to know those lead people that you're dealing with. What caused them to start in this industry? Why is that their passion? What made them want to do this work? Try to connect with them on a personal level, and then this is a leading point that a lot of people have talked to. Determine what they want to get out of this new relationship. A lot of times web developers, they just want to produce a slicker website, a mobile responsive website, or get that one thing that the client knows that they were asking for, but we're not answering that underlying question that they don't know to tell you what it is that they want to get out of it, whether it's new recruiting, more sales, more leads. So the first thing I want to talk about is persona development, and this is a pretty simple topic that everyone knows and most people know to do. But most people don't look at it as a way to drive new development or to educate the customer about opportunities that they don't know that they have. So the first step is easy. Identify the 3 or 4 groups that the client is serving currently. Ask them everything that you can about each of those groups. Get to know them. And if they have already developed personas or brand guidelines that include this, then you have to ask for that. The largest group, starting with the largest group, but working through all 3 or 4. The 3 questions that I like to ask that I think really boil down what it is the company is trying to get at or what they need to learn. What caused this person to decide to purchase this product or service? Why would someone choose you over a competitor? That's that key differentiator. And then what would they consider a successful interaction? What does that customer want to get out of this? And usually even within a very simple service, something like heating and cooling, the things that the different types of consumers are looking for are very different, where a 25-year-old homeowner is going to want something different than a 65-year-old homeowner from that same company. So once we break it apart like that, it gives us the opportunity to look at the marketing and determine, are we accurately answering those questions that those different consumers are asking? And that very quickly leads to new content generation, new landing pages, new PPC efforts, being able to expand on things they already know to do, but they don't realize that they're only speaking to 1 or 2 of those demographics, usually the one that the owner falls into. Review the existing marketing, the brand promise, and their content strategy, and are we clearly answering all 3 of those questions? Are we speaking to those, and are we doing it for each of the different personas? So then we repeat that process to go over the others. So the persona development drives actual development. Landing pages, PPC, targeted marketing campaigns, email and direct mail, and the areas I've had a lot of success in is getting them to expand into other areas that they're usually not comfortable in. A lot of owners don't want to do direct mail or email marketing. They don't see value in it because the customer base they've been focusing on doesn't respond well. But by expanding on who their customer base is, it's easier to get them to step into those. But then other opportunities that I think a lot of design firms overlook. It's easy to just do the things in our niche, just in our industry, but we have a great design team that does incredible branding packages and websites for our customers. So it's easier for us to produce design documents, trade show booths, ASI, silly things. But by deepening your relationship and serving that customer on several fronts, I tell my customers, anything that has to do with marketing, I'd love to help. Even if it's not something within my specialty, I will find the right people. I will give them your brand guidelines, the things that we've developed over time. And then that will help to make the process more efficient, and we can probably tie it into other tracking that we're doing. So I have a case study from a client that we did just last year. Bridge Credit Union, they're about 15 years old. They primarily serve the transportation industry, but they are growing in I believe it's the Toledo area. They're opening it up to anyone at all, so they're on the verge of doing that on a much larger scale. The original website for this, very large amount of transactions per year business was only 10 pages. We couldn't believe it. It was all accordions and hidden content, and you had to click through to find anything. By the time we expanded that out to a proper mobile responsive, content-focused website, it was well over 200 pages. Now, during the process of development, we asked them for their personas, anything that they had done for branding or marketing. And they gave us, it was 200 pages, 4 or 5 personas with 40 or 50 pages each, one of the most in-depth studies that I've seen, or best ones a client's ever given me. But the oddest thing was, in all of our discussions, they identified someone, this one person that they were trying to reach. And he wasn't represented in any of the personas. Because they had such a narrow focus on the transportation industry, there are literally 20 or 30 people in the state that if they were to make the decision to move to Bridge, their business would triple overnight. So we realized that the website didn't speak to that HR leader, that person in the organization that would have the ability to move over and recommend this to the employees to join as a company. So we did a rough persona for them. And then we went through the rest of the site, the scope of the project grew, the effectiveness of the website improved, and the customer was really happy. So just by taking that one step and challenging some of the things that they had produced at the beginning, it gave us a much better opportunity to serve. And I'm going to touch on a number of topics. Web development and web design covers a lot of areas. So if anyone wants to stop or has questions, please raise your hand. I'm happy to pause and talk through anything. Responsive web design, everyone knows that it's important. I think that a lot of companies get it wrong in some ways. They'll take their existing website, what looks good on a desktop, and they'll simply make it mobile responsive. It's a different environment, it's a different user experience, and the people searching for a company on their phone have different objectives. So the line is mobile first. Think about if 60 or 70 or 80% of your traffic is coming over mobile devices, you should be developing a mobile site first and how that's going to work. A lot of times that's really difficult. If you have a lot of content, a really aggressive content strategy, or you're trying to drive a lot of traffic via organic, you have a very large site, a lot of different messages. So what we try to do is simplify the design and navigation on mobile. Instead of simply stacking columns, we remove or hide elements that aren't as important, aren't as mission critical, and that hide or move down on the page the call to actions, the contact forms. Please use keyboard triggers on forms. Forms that are started and then abandoned when this isn't done right is much higher than in other cases. Make sure that you're answering the questions quickly. I'm not going to say above the fold because that's not really a thing anymore, but get to the point high on the page. What is the thing that they want to hear from you? Is it that you're going to do a better job than the next guy, or whatever that key differentiator is? Highlight that right away. Test it on multiple mobile devices. This is a great service, mobiletest.me. It'll pull up and give you 20 different devices, and you can see exactly how a web page will look or perform on any of them. But then look at your competitors. This is a race, and how are we going to know how well we're doing if we never look to our left and right to see how the others are doing? So pull up the competitors' websites on mobile, surf yours, see where the trouble spots are. Content generation strategy. This is something that we implemented here at Robintek, and I've recommended to several clients, and we've actually had great success with this. One of the challenges with a content-focused strategy is getting good copy written. Now, you can hire an outside firm to come and learn about you and do interviews and then write copy, and most of the time they'll do a good job. It'll be on tone. It'll really reflect what you were trying to say. But for a lot of small and medium businesses, it's prohibitively expensive to hire an outside firm. So it falls on 1 or 2 or 3 internal people to produce content on all of these different areas. So the program that we implemented, we have 12 full-time employees, 4 part-time employees. Every quarter, each person is responsible for writing 1 short article. It's usually just 300 words. We're trying to pump it up a little bit because we've had a great response, and most of the pieces that my employees are writing are much longer than the minimum. We make it pretty simple. You know, the SEO and marketing team will discuss what kind of things we want to target over the next quarter, where we see opportunity for growth or new services that we're presenting, or challenges in the industry like security, which is a constant challenge. And we'll give rough topics, but what I always tell my team is, what have you been working on? Have you solved a tough problem lately? Have you done anything to make yourself better at your job, or make you more efficient, or to serve a client in an unusual way? Write about that. This is interesting stuff, and you, this team member, you're an expert in this area. So I want to hear what you have to say. Now, the design team will take the articles, enhance them, add imagery, break it up. Not all of our team are great writers. They might be good programmers, but they're not great writers. Our SEO lead optimizes it, makes sure the keywords and everything, the phrasing is right for search. Post to social channels, we'll share in newsletters, post to LinkedIn as articles, but we post them on our website. We have team blogs, or we'll turn that into an infographic or a white paper, or we'll merge 2 or 3 articles into one much bigger one. But there were some unexpected benefits, and this is something that has helped me to convince several customers to implement programs like this. This is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that employees are staying on average about 1.5 years, and while money is usually a reason for someone to move, it's more often these other things: lack of respect or feeling of appreciation, lack of understanding of the long-term vision of the company, lack of challenging or engaging work, and poor morale. So telling my employees this, telling them that I value their opinion, that they can contribute, making them understand what our big objectives are, they've really taken to it. The first 2 times there was a lot of grumbling, but after that people really got into it, and now there's a competition who gets the most clicks or who gets the most traffic to their articles, and we'll even reward people who go above and beyond and really go in depth and write multi-part pieces. So it's an empowerment strategy. How have you solved a tough problem? What have you done recently? Why are you so much better at this job than others? Giving people that kind of positive reinforcement, and then asking them to analyze their work, their productivity, and their approach to serving both makes them feel like a valuable part of the team and forces them to re-examine their process. So it's a positive, both from a content strategy and from a leadership and HR position. But then and when you talk about getting customers to do it, getting customers to put these kind of programs in place and empower more of their leaders to write for them. Now they have topics, they have content that needs to be styled, that needs to be optimized, that could be put into newsletters. And if one of those starts to catch, then we have a new avenue that we can explore. The next topic I want to talk about are underutilized channels in serving these small businesses and in marketing in general. The normal cycle is build a website, establish social media, PPC, measure, adjust, repeat. And web developers just want to stay within this niche. We're marketers. These companies that we're serving often will have to reach out to a print design company for this other service, or to different firms for different things. And when that's not tied together, it's not as effective, and it's someone else getting an opportunity to serve your client. So the first one is, we're not coders anymore. We're expert implementers. When we started doing this, somebody wanted an e-commerce site. We started with a blank white page. We wrote the code, we did the designs, everything had to be built from the ground up. If you asked a web developer today to create any kind of e-commerce platform completely from scratch, most of them would not be able to do it. They're excellent at implementing Shopify or WooCommerce or OpenCart. But they're not building things. So if we follow through with that, we educate our customers about free or inexpensive software as a service opportunities. The client that doesn't want to pay you for an aggressive email campaign, if you teach them how to use MailChimp or Constant Contact or any of those, maybe you supply a great graphic to help them, they get into it. They start doing it, they realize how difficult it is, and then they realize that bid that you gave them for it is actually a very reasonable number given the results that could come from that kind of thing. So the last one is get more out of each development project by pairing it with print design work or more traditional approaches to marketing. Business cards, letterhead, signage, ASI products, postcards, door hangers. And this is one area that it makes it easy for us to become that person to a client, where we use unique URLs, coupon codes, or pass-through phone numbers to track the productivity of each piece. Then we can tie it into the other things that we're reporting, the ROI on for PPC, for social media engagement, or other types of things. A lot of times companies are already doing these, but they're doing them very poorly, and they're not utilizing the website, or they're not utilizing technology in the ways that they should be. So educating them about these other things is a natural next step. And if you have great graphic designers on your team, then this is something that they can do. Designing a website is much harder than designing a great brochure. A brochure never breaks 6 months later with an angry customer asking why it stopped working. Custom functionality. This is another area that has gotten a lot easier. Widgets and tools. If you're on WordPress, there are 4 million plugins that you could look at to add some little bell or whistle, some conversion tool that your competitors don't have that helps to set you aside. Rate calculators are easy. Those are all over financial sites, banks, mortgages, things like that. Gated content is another really easy one to add. Sometimes specialized online ordering, sometimes it is difficult to find the ROI in those. ASI products or part matching, like we recently helped Safelite Auto has decided to start selling windshield wipers and window cleaner. They want to be synonymous with anything automotive windows. And selling windshield wipers on Amazon is a really difficult task because you can tell it what kind of car you have, and it'll tell you what kind of windshield wiper you need. So making those connections is often really difficult. Business efficiency tools are a really easy way. It's another area of development that's a great tool, a trick to add to a client. They often never think of their website as a tool that they should be using. I'll joke with clients that the marketing will help get more clients in the front door, but these will help get them out the back door faster. So either way, we can make it more efficient. And those could be as simple as sales tracking, HR, time clocks, or it could be something much more engaging, like a client portal where you have more direct access to staff. And the last one on this is custom WordPress plugins. They're great. A lot of developers do them, but you have to be really careful. I'm coming across more websites where the firm paid some astronomical amount of money to produce some custom tool, but they didn't have any of that aftercare, any of that ongoing maintenance. WordPress, today there's a new version coming out, 4.9.8, and 5, Gutenberg, is supposed to drop in the next couple of months. Every plugin has to go and get updated. If you have someone develop a custom WordPress plugin, you have to find out how they're going to care for it. How often are they going to make updates? Are they going to charge you for fixing things when new versions come out? There's some easy side steps. You could create a PHP tool that just sits next to WordPress, and then WordPress's evolution has less of an impact on it, or make a secondary site. So we often try to talk customers out of this, or we'll try to adjust their needs to fit more cleanly within something that's already available, that's already supported. So these are some other things that I love talking about. And let me see, I feel like, yes, of course, I rushed through everything. So before we jump into any of these, does anyone have any questions about some of the other stuff that I talked about? Yeah, go ahead. Sure. Yeah, we call that responsive versus reactive. A reactive website will it'll have 2 or 3 different sizes. If the browser's width is greater than this, then show version 1. If it's between this and this, version 2 tablet, and this size is the phone, mobile devices. A fully responsive website needs to and can almost go up to any width and any size on a mobile device. The only catch or caveat that I would give is that people have giant computer screens anymore. I have a couple of clients with 40 and 50-inch screens hanging on their wall, and they somehow find that to be a good solution. Now, if it has a 2,000 or 3,000 pixel width, we're not going to be able to stretch it all the way. But getting up to 1,800 or 1,900, what the average, say, a 30 or 32-inch computer screen would do, well, you can make websites that fit in those. You just have to start with the right foundation. Was it a WordPress site or WordPress? Some themes do it better than others. Some are more flexible than others. So finding one that is going to be fully responsive, that can go up to those large screens, and then instead of at a certain point clicking into the next size, it slowly morphs to fill the screen wherever it is. That's the solution, is the underlying theme and the responsiveness. Yeah. Anyone else? Any other questions? These are some of the other things I love talking about. WordPress stability and security. This has become a really big thing in our industry. WordPress websites that are not maintained have 6 months, 9 months before they're going to be taken down. The hackers, the bad guys out there, there are over 30 million active WordPress websites. So they'll write viruses that exploit individual opportunities, those plugins that aren't being supported anymore, that people didn't know to go and remove, or silly things like that usually. And they'll do insertion attacks where they try to take over and insert content. They'll do hidden pages. Suddenly your website's selling Canadian Pharmacy or Cialis. Or they'll actively try to spread viruses to your users, all three of which have a significant negative impact on your SEO. Photography and digital marketing. We have an active photography department. I find that really effective. It helps us to serve our clients and get better product images, better photography for their staff or of their services. Organic SEO, this is a big topic. SEO anymore, it's such a catch-all term. It really embodies anything that you do to drive traffic to your website. And I've heard a couple of the other speakers allude to this, but the biggest negative, the biggest challenge with organic SEO is that it takes a long time. It takes a good amount of time to really see those benefits. I often liken it to dieting, where there are 100 different right ways to diet and get healthier, but the underlying tenet of all of those is you have to stick with it for a really long time, and you've got to adjust the way you do things, and it will show benefits. And on the dieting analogy, there are shortcuts. Like with dieting, you have diet pills and cups of coffee all day. That's PPC. That's the other kind of paid traffic that you can do. And while that stuff works, it's often not sustainable. So, program that I pitch to a lot of our clients that really want to go fast, we start the organic SEO campaign, generating good content, reviewing the site, always being engaging. But then we pair that with a PPC campaign with the objective of paring it down and stopping. Nothing annoys me more than searching for a company and seeing them come up number one, and they're also listed in the PPC on the exact same term. That's ridiculous. So as terms rise, as they get into the top three, we lower the budget or we stop paying for them altogether. I've helped companies go from spending $40,000 or $50,000 a year on PPC to $400 or $500 a month on PPC, and they're getting the same number of leads or opportunities. So that's a real challenge. Yeah. Anyone else have any questions or anything you'd like to talk about? Sure.
I'm a little interested in the photography and digital marketing.
Yeah.
So sometimes you visit a website and it's like, okay, it's typical.
Mm-hmm.
And then you visit another site and you say, wow, this looks really cool.
Yeah.
So how much of that is just photography, images that are edited? How much of it is actual technology that went into it
Yeah.
back then? And how often do you pull in these departments, which you
Yeah, most clients do have something. They at least have stock imagery they've used in the past or some product photography. And our photographers and designers will usually edit those images to fit the spaces that we're going to use them now. But it's another area where the majority of companies have them, but very few have very good ones. Or the images aren't, they're not engaging enough, or they don't show action. They don't highlight those key differentiators of the company. And in those cases, we either push for purchasing better stock photography, which has gotten a lot cheaper. And at $20, $30, $40 an image, and you have your choice of millions. But when those don't work, we try to send a photographer out. We try to stage, and we did a construction company recently, Brunner Corp was, when they were doing the OSU, we had people crawling around in the steam tunnels getting really fun pictures of their team, and they use that in recruiting as well as marketing. So we always look at, we treat photography the same way we treat copy, that everyone has it and most of it's not good enough. So we try to figure out where there are opportunities and where their budget will allow for either doing a photo shoot or just sourcing better stock photography that's better, better falls in line with their brand or with the tone that they want to set. So, yeah.
Does the audience relate better, or are we getting more savvy on what stock photography and what's really connected?
Yeah, definitely. And more clients are asking us to pay attention to the number of times stock photographs have been used. We will do image searches of their competitors to make sure that we're not overlapping. We'll look at their social media accounts to make sure we're not using the same imagery one of their competitors or anyone else in this region is doing. Robintek has a couple of products or websites and services that we've created. One of those with this great stock photo on our header as part of our logo. Not really, it was the background to our logo. And about 2 years later, we started seeing it on packages at Micro Center for RAM, and then we saw her on billboards, and then, so immediately we had to take that down and make those changes. So making sure it's unique and on brand is really important, and it's a challenge, but there's a lot of great resources. So while we have an internal team of photographers, it's easy enough to find a local photographer to book a headshot or to book some action photos and then have your design team do all the editing. It's the collection rate instead of collection and editing from a professional photographer is usually half or a third. So the opportunities are out there. Yeah. Anyone else? Any other questions? Sure.
Joe, did you say you guys do use WordPress?
Oh yeah, yes we do.
The second one is, how do you deal with the clients who are just starting out and have a low budget, maybe $500 or $1,000 for the website, or don't use part of that?
No, I love those people, and we do what I wouldn't say we target them, but I get a lot of those opportunities, and I love serving them. There's a solution out there for every client, and a lot of those companies where they come in with a $500 or $1,000 budget and they need a website that's going to compete with a $20,000 website from their main competitor, we figure out ways to do it. We'll start with, I hate doing this, but in some cases I've had clients come to me with a $1,000 budget, but because their needs are so unique, we'll start with a Shopify site, or we'll start with something that's off the shelf, a canned site. We'll assist with the launch, we'll assist with the branding, give 5-6 hours of help to make sure the site's perfect, and then we'll use $500, $600, $700 of that $1,000 budget on PPC, on outreach, on things that are going to provide a much more immediate return. And my thinking is that, the lifespan of a client, we've been at this 20 years. I have a couple of websites that are 15 or 16 years old that are still on the internet. They're not in my portfolio, but they're still up there. And I'm doing redesign for a client right now that was 15 years ago we did their first site. So I want to help in all of these different ways. So helping them to get started, figuring out solutions on very small budgets, and then a year later or 2 years later, they had enough momentum at the beginning that they're now ready to do something that'll compete with the people that are on their left and right. So I see opportunities with every business, especially when the owner or the entrepreneur is hungry and really working. I call it the Wile E. Coyote marketing method. Every day they're going through the book for what they can afford, and they're going to try it that day. And I just like helping those people, helping to educate them about those free services that are out there and all of the great tools. So, and then down the road, we'll get better PPC campaigns or email campaigns or things that are more profitable for my company. But my first objective is getting them over that initial hump. And if I do that, then I've made a friend too, and they're not even gonna ask for bids when they come back to redo their website. They're gonna come to me first. So yeah, I love serving those kind of companies. Any other questions? Anyone else have any questions about web development or anything in this area? No? Yeah.
Question about copywriting. Is there a form of content that you recommend, or do you see that's more effective?
He said, do I see a form of content, or when it comes to copywriting, is there a form of content that's more effective? And I think the answer would be, from industry to industry, it certainly is different, but the approach that I found to be the most effective is, and I call it, on one of the slides, I call it shallow but deep. Keep the navigation simple, keep the homepage simple, stay on message, keep it really direct. Here's what we'll do for you, here's what you'll get in the end, here's how to get in touch with us. So on the surface, it's very simple and to the point. But then for the people who want to dive deeper, and for the crawlers and for SEO, I love getting very, very micro. We have copy on our website that goes into stuff that there might be 1 out of every 10,000 readers who hit my site would have any interest or even understand what it is. The minification of CSS or JavaScript and why that has an impact on your search engine ranking. That's not for most casual readers. But so I think having a blend of that general, very simple marketing content at the surface, very simple menus, but then through interlinking or inner menus, like on the left or right floated on pages, allowing people to go a lot deeper. And so I think it's a blend of content that's... Well, videos I think are easier to grab people's attention on social media and on the right platform. On the website, you're not going to get much of an organic SEO hit from video unless you do a transcript as well or have a great article attached to it. So again, it's probably a short, punchy article with a few tech bits and then a video. And then maybe the video is what you share and point back to the article that has the more in-depth explanation. So it's a blend, really. Yeah. Sure. Not right now, not that I know of. I'd have to ask some of my developers if they're using that. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, sure.
You had mentioned something a little bit earlier, I believe the term you called was part patching.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I'm trying to investigate now. What were some of the other terms as far as in our investigation? Like I'm looking for either like product configurator or something like that, where it is a lot of building a part number.
Yeah.
What are some of the other terms that you had kind of said that?
Now, I've found that in each industry it's unique. The different industries call it different things. Usually there's a central governing body or some central index that everyone points back to. In the case of the auto parts, I think it was called BINS, B-I-N-S was the term. But I think if you're having a challenge creating a site that needs that kind of functionality, I would look to competitors, find a competitor that has it, find the web development shop that helped them to implement it, and then just find out what technology was used to make those connections, if they'll serve or if they'll consult at least to point you to the right tool. But yeah, a little bit of research is required to answer that question. What industry is it for?
Multiple. Gas delivery, gas regulator, electronic transducer, etc. So
Oh, okay.
it's multiple across a lot of industries, and what I'm looking to build really isn't in this particular industry or is done poorly right now in competition.
Oh, okay. You might fall into an area where custom development is needed, and while 95% of our projects are kind of WordPress off-the-shelf systems that we're configuring, doing custom builds like that, where you start with a data model and then wrap a website around it, that might be what's needed. And that's not great news. It's usually more expensive to go down that road, but yeah. Anything else? Anyone else have any questions or challenges with their site? Yeah.
So for SEO, backlinking is obviously still very important. What tactics have you found to be most successful in earning those links?
Yeah, well, we use different PR distribution services. That helps to improve the quality. As the gentleman before me said, disavowing negative links and really just paying attention to it. That's one of those things that it's a slow build. So putting your content out there, trying to get it shared on high quality sites and platforms is the one thing you can do. But then minding what is linking into you and keeping an eye on it. Most of the time, yeah. We found that a lot of them will have free services, but the release doesn't go further than that one website if you don't at least put a little bit behind it. So if we're trying to seed and get some attention for a customer's new product or something we're doing, then we will put a little bit behind it, but very rarely more than a few $100s. Yeah. Anything else? Anyone else have a question? No? Well, thanks a lot for the time. And if anyone has challenges or questions or problems that they'd like to talk through, grab one of my cards. I'm always happy to help and consult. And I always do trainings and consultations for free. So let me know if I can do anything. Thanks.